Do you still call them crisps, by the way? Or do you call them chips now you live in America?
Definitely still call them crisps, and I will till the day I die.
Welcome to the Bible in 1 Year podcast, brought to you by two Brits and aBible. This is day 25, covering Exodus 22, 23, and 24.
In Exodus 22, God speaks to Moses about laws regarding theft, loans, and sorcery. Exodus 23, more laws, this time on justice, harvesting, and rest, and he promises to overcome other nations. And in Exodus 24, Moses tells Israel's God's laws, and Israel agrees, and Moses goes back up the mountain.
Wonderful.
You're going to try and do a different synonym every time now?
I ain't going to go very far. I've probably got about 3. So, yeah, I want to touch here just very briefly at the beginning, because I mentioned yesterday about how we're covering 21 in today's as well, because it's these kind of minor laws that is gone on from the 10 Commandments into these whole extra laws, which we kind of touched on a bit yesterday. In my notes for yesterday, I wrote, I just don't like chapter 21 because I think there's so much in there to do with how to treat servants and like how to sell your daughter and all this kind of crap, which just doesn't translate into 21st century logic really, or laws, I suppose. And I know obviously the first time we did the Bible in 1 year and we were chatting with Josh about this, and I think you know as well, again, you covered it yesterday, that compared to other cultures, this was pretty revolutionary this is actually treating people and animals and stuff way better than they would have been being treated in other cultures at that time. So we look at these and think these are really harsh laws, but actually for the time it was sort of a step forward in human rights, basically.
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
And just touching upon that, I'm going to spit several different verses at you quickly because I've got so many for this reading. Don't mistreat or oppress a foreigner. You were foreigners in Egypt. Exodus 22:21. Very progressive. Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. Exodus 22:22. Then you've also got 6 days do your work, but on the seventh day do not work, so your ox and your donkey may rest, and so the slave born in your household and the foreigner living among you may be refreshed. Exodus 23:12. So these are all talking about better treatment of animals and the poor and the lowly. The other thing that's worth mentioning, again, this is from that book, Is God a Moral Monster? It's not slavery in the way of like the horrific slave trade that we think of from, colonial times or anything like that. It isn't chattel slavery. These are people that are sell themselves, they're more like servants. They sell their time because they are mismanaging debts or things like that, and after 7 years they are to be freed, and if they have any more debt, they're forgiven of that after 7 years within the law here, right? So it's when we see that word, we cringe from it, and rightly so, but it isn't the same as what we think of as slavery in, well, the horrific slave trade and so on.
That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, that's a big thing that's in this book. It just kind of looks at biblical slavery versus actual slavery. And anyway, I could talk about that for hours, but I'm not going to, because we don't have that long.
What I do like as well in this, and I'm going to see if I can pull it up quickly in the Message version, because it actually says about here we go. No, can't see it immediately, not going to bother. But effectively it's saying about don't be stingy as your wine vats fill up, is kind of what it's saying in here. And it's saying that, you can do this and you will, no, okay, never mind. You will, as you prosper, as you grow your wealth, as this, that, and the other, remember God in those times. It's kind of like we've said in the before, it's easy to reach out when we're going through hard times, but when we're actually in a spot where our wine vats are overflowing, where we've got more than we need, to still be faithful with giving back to God and being generous as well, looking after the orphan and the widow, like it's saying, do that from out your own pocket, basically.
What I love about what you just said as well is it links into something I didn't write from day 25, and that was about how you're supposed to lend money at no interest if the person is poorer. So again, that's just a type of generosity. Do things not because you're going to receive anything back, but because it helps someone else. I love all of that. So I know you've got lots to get to. I just want to quickly do one thing about the fact that you've also got some of the parallels that God is using here in the laws, and so, you know, one of the things is God says you must give me the firstborn of your sons. So obviously he has saved the firstborn sons from the plague of death, you know, that obviously killed the Egyptian firstborn sons.
Yeah.
I love that. I also love the idea that he talks about for 6 days the clouds covered the mountain. On the seventh day the Lord called to Moses from within the clouds. And then just a couple, that's Exodus 24:16, and he stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Moses, that is, Exodus 24:18. So again, these numbers, these important numbers, God's timing is perfect. We'll talk about that as well, right? But just the fact that it's so perfect that he even uses these significant numbers: the 6 days, the cloud, the seventh day cooling. It's like the 6 days of Genesis creation, right? And then the 40 days, and it's 40 years that they're in the wilderness, the Israelites and stuff. It blows my mind. Really, it blows my mind, and I love it.
Yeah. You have to. I'm still pulling out crisps from my teeth. So to just backtrack slightly, I mentioned at the very start how I didn't like chapter 21 because of the rules. Actually, chapter 22 here, I quite like it because there's a lot of, it's good levels of retribution for thieving, and it's good laws in there, really, about how to treat people properly. And it's just nice to hear that. I also like how it mentions in, where is this, verse 30, about how, and I know you've got something to say in this as well. No, wrong chapter, probably, never mind.
I can tell you, little by little I will drive them out before you until you have increased enough to take possession of the land.
Yeah,
Exodus 23:30. That's the one you're going for.
I was looking at 22:30. I know you're going to touch on it as well, but what I love about that is how it just confirms God will do stuff little by little, sort of baby steps type thing, not to overwhelm us.
Yep.
Because our little human bodies and brains just can't deal with it.
Yeah, no, well, it links back to this idea that God's timing is absolutely perfect. We've talked before, you know, off camera about like the lead up from creation, then the fall, and then building up to Jesus. And some atheists or agnostics might argue, well, why didn't he just send Jesus on the first day to save us or whatever? Why did it take so long? But it is this process of building up until you have the Roman Empire, which is a perfect vehicle for the world to know Jesus' sacrifice, for it to be spread and shouted across the lands, right? Yeah. Whereas if you'd have done that when they're digging around in the dirt in the first couple of years, then it's not going to work, is it? So and it links back to the numbers as far as I'm concerned. God not only does all of this, but he does it perfectly in his timing to symbolic numbers. I think it's all part of the insane genius of our creator.
I noticed this time reading through it as well, you just touched on how he went back up the mountain for 40 days. It says in 24:13 that Moses set out with Joshua as his assistant, and it's just the two of them that went up at this stage. And actually then Joshua turned out to be one of the spies that went into Jerusalem, who actually came back and was like, nah, God can do this. He was the one that actually had spent the most time, the closest with God out of any of the other ones that went up. And just that proximity to being close to God, developing a relationship, led him into a spot where he actually just trusted in a way that other people didn't.
Yeah, I honestly, that just blows my mind. What I find interesting as well, that maybe kind of links to this, is where it talks about Exodus 24:7. The people, Israelites, agree to the covenant. They say, we will do everything the Lord has said, we'll obey. And to me, that reminds me of people in church that sometimes go through the motions, but then they don't actually follow through. So obviously we know in coming chapters that they worship other idols and the golden calf and all that stuff. Yeah. So it has a bit of Lucifer vibes to it as well, right? A little bit.
Sure.
The closer you get to God.
Yeah, okay, I hear you.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's cool, man. Well, I think that's probably what we're going to be able to do today. So any questions, visit the Facebook page, 2 Brits and a Bible.
Or you can email us at 2britsbible@gmail.com.